The first stretch goal is to develop the story, the art, and the programming necessary to get the game within the context of detectives on a case. And the case and the story that it involves is going to be about diversity. The client that hires the detectives is going to be someone who's being discriminated against. And the students will learn about discrimination by seeing the story evolve and how the acts of discrimination affect the characters within the story. The next stretch goal involves developing 2 additional cases for the detectives to solve. And each case is going to be based around a theme. The first theme is diversity and discrimination. A possible theme for one of these 2 cases would be honesty and ethics. This is one thing I'm going to talk about in the rewards, but there's going to be a production blog for the development of this project, and contributors will have a certain amount of input into the actual development of the project based on their level of contribution. And another element of this stretch goal is, rather than having cases being simply linear, where you start the case of diversity and you go through the same 10 steps every time, I want to build in the ability to randomize it, so the same cases can be replayed over and over, and it will be different enough that the engagement level should stay higher. And that's one thing I also want to test: a linear case where it's the same case over and over, and then other people play it, and the only thing that's different is they'll play the same case, but the story will change a little bit between the times they play it, and how that affects their engagement level. So part of the stretch goal, a case might have 10 steps to solve, but we design 20 or 30 steps, and then they're randomly chosen. And there'll be some additional programming and design elements to make sure that they can be randomized like this. But that's one element of the stretch goal, is to build it so the same case can be played over and over without it being identical every time. Okay, the next stretch goal involves what I would call a multilingual tool. And this doesn't just mean we program a version in Spanish. That's not a multilingual tool in terms of education. What I want this to be is a tool that can be used by a teacher to help the students construct knowledge. And the way it would work, let's say you have a Spanish-speaking student who's learning English. When they are playing the game, it's in Spanish. And every time the characters say something or text comes up on the screen, it will be in Spanish. And what will happen is the student will be prompted to translate that text into English. So they'll see some text in Spanish, and they might probably work in groups. They'll come up with what that should be in English, and they'll type it in. They'll hear some voices in Spanish. They'll be able to record their own versions of that character saying the same thing, but in English. And the game will then allow them to replay the case as if it was an animation or a movie, but the characters will be using their language and their voices. Okay, the final stretch goal has a couple elements. The first one being adding new dynamics beyond playing with coins. One that I envision I think will work really well is postage. U.S. postage has a face value, a 3-cent stamp, a 40-cent stamp, so on. And if within the context of the story, you can have to go mail a letter or a package for the characters. And having to get the correct postage designed in a way that you learn the same background knowledge you did with the coins. So it'll allow you to have, rather than every step along the way you have to go do something with money, there'll be different things you do along the way that the variety should increase engagement with the story, and that's another thing I'd like to test. So the second part of this stretch goal is an idea I have to make this a community game, and every single thing that you can develop and design within the game, I want to design it in a way that people can add their own content. So have a website where you can upload your own images for characters. You can upload the names, the story, the case, the steps they go through, the things they have to buy, the packet. Everything that goes into designing the case will be something that can be created by people out there, and then they can be uploaded and shared and available for teachers and other people to use and download into the game.